What's up, guys? I hope you're doing fine. I hope you are having an amazing working or studying day wherever you are. First of all, I introduce myself. My name is Pepe Cuenca, and I am a Spanish Grandmaster. And I'm here again with you guys to analyze the game of the day of the fifth round of the US Championships. And we're going to take a look on the game between Wesley So and Akobian. And I was so looking forward to see this game because actually, if you remember, guys, last year they played in the very same tournament. And if you remember, Wesley So was forfeited for making annotations or comments in his score sheet. Actually, he was writing some self-motivation comments like try to analyze always a second time your variation, this kind of stuff. And Akobian made a complaint to the arbiter, and actually Wesley So was forfeited and he lost that game just because of this. So I'm sure he was waiting for revenge. So let's see what happened in this game. It has been really interesting with a lot of attacking ideas, and I hope you guys enjoy this game as much as I did. So let's start with it. Wesley So decides to play e4. Akobian replies with the French. Here, d4, most common move, controlling the center. d5, and here many options, as you guys know. So there's e5. You can play knight d2, the Tarrasch, and or knight c3. You can also take on d5, the exchange variation of the French. But all right, he played knight c3. And again here, a lot of possibilities, just to mention. So knight f6 is the classical French. You can also play bishop b4, of course. This is main line as well. And knight c6 is an interesting move. And d takes e4, what happened in the game. This is of course another option, a very solid option. And after knight takes e4, the most common move is knight d7 that was played in the game. Just to mention some small trick for those who are beginning with chess, who are starting with chess, knight f6, knight takes f6. If you take with the queen, actually, if you are not careful enough, you can lose your queen in 3 moves. Let's see how. So knight f3, just bishop d6, for example, bishop d3, and then if you don't play h6, bishop g5 is coming. Let's say knight d7 and bishop g5, boom, you are losing the queen, and then you are losing the game. So just to mention for you guys, if you are beginning with chess, this is a small trick that you can use in your games. And alright, so knight d7, the idea of knight d7 is actually after knight f6, you want to recapture with your knight on f6. So knight f3 is the most common move, and knight f6. Okay, and here again, different possibilities. You can play bishop d3, you can play knight g3, yeah, and knight f6 is as well the most common move. So after knight takes f6, knight takes f6, now there are different interesting options. For example, c3 is one of the most played moves. Actually, this is what Wesley played in the game. But bishop b3 or bishop d3, bishop g5, they're also interesting moves. Bishop b3 is actually some idea that, for example, Fabiano Caruana tried against Mayer, the German strong grandmaster, in 2013. And after knight d5, bishop d2, can look like you are losing a tempo, but it's really interesting. Just to show you a small pawn sacrifice that exists in this variation. So bishop b5, check, bishop d7, takes, and c4, knight b6, and now rook c1, sacrificing the d4 pawn. Yeah, the ideas are related with going c5 and then knight e5, queen a4, and this is actually pretty interesting. Just to let you know. Okay, but c3 of course is a really common move. The idea is just to reinforce your center. You want to develop probably with bishop d3 or bishop e3, bishop g5, maybe in some lines castling long side. And black here, of course, has to break somewhere, and in e5 is just impossible, right? So the most common break is just to play c5, just putting some pressure on the white center. And here there are different options. The most common line is knight e5, and actually it has a concrete idea. Of course, if you give a check here on b5, it's nothing dangerous. You can just reply with bishop b7. But after c5, knight e5, now you are actually threatening to go bishop b5, and it's a really strong move. That's why a6 is played in this position, just to avoid bishop b5. But let's see what happens if black doesn't pay attention to this and actually just want to take on d4, creating some isolated pawn. The idea, as I told you guys, just to play bishop b5 check. And now there are just two possible replies, right? So one is bishop d7, and of course you can take with the knight now. Knight takes d7, queen takes d4. You have the bishop pair. You have 3 versus 2 in the queen side, and then you have a really an annoying ping here. Imagine that a rook lands on d1. Actually, this is just better for white, yeah. So, and the other reply is actually knight d7. And knight d7 runs into a really strong move that you guys should know. It's queen f3. Just attacking the f7 pawn, Facundo pawn. You want to give checkmate. And then after queen e7, there is the strong move bishop g5, yeah? You cannot take on g5 because queen f7 is coming, and then taking on d7. So f6 is forced. And now there are many moves, bishop h4, but rook d1 is a really interesting move. The idea is, of course, you cannot take on e5 with the knight, it's pinned. You cannot take with the pawn because the queen is pinned, but you can take on g5, yeah? The problem is, after rook takes d4, you are gonna get this piece back on d7, and you are gonna enjoy an amazing position, and black is should be close to sign under the 0, yeah? So, yeah, this is actually why after knight e5, a6 is played, just to avoid this kind of bishop b5 check, yeah? So, after in this position instead, Wesley So decided to go for bishop e3. It's actually played many times as well. After queen c7, actually we transpose normally to the main line that we were explaining right now. So now the move is knight e5, threatening to go bishop b5, and after a6 we are in the main line. White normally tries to go something like queen a4. Of course, you cannot play b5 because you can just take the rook on a8 is hanging. And then after knight d7, you can just castle long side. And this is there have been so many games in this position. So this is actually another story. So maybe Akobian was a little bit afraid of Wesley So's preparation. That's why in this position, instead of queen c7, he went for c takes d4. He takes d4. According to my database, no grandmaster has played this move before. Just a few players 2400 tried this, and now the idea is to take with the bishop on d4. And here the bishop has a really nice spot square. Actually controls the important diagonal of d4, and then it cannot be kicked back from with a knight. Actually, then there's no knight on c6. A pawn is very difficult that will land on e5. So actually, the d4 square is very good for this bishop, yeah. And now after bishop d3, you can see the power of these two guys, yeah. They attack like a beast on the king side, yeah. So after bishop d4, bishop e7, actually a natural move, developing a minor piece, preparing for short castling. Bishop d3, and here again you see the power of these two little monsters. After short castles, queen c2 is a move that I really like a lot. Not only you are preparing for castling long side, but also you are creating a direct threat, yeah. Direct threat, just your direct threat is just to take on f6 and then take on h7, just winning a pawn, yeah. So that's why black has to do something about that. And then there are just two options, yeah, to defend this guy here. One is g6. But this actually, we can a little bit, we can allot this beautiful diagonal, and also gives us a point break on h5, yeah? So after long castle, h4, h5 attacking. So actually this looks really dangerous for black, yeah? The other option that was played in the game is a bit better, h6, but at the same time gives us point break again, g5. So imagine later we are managed to bring a pawn to g5, open the g file for a rook with the contribution of these two guys. It's gonna be really tough for black, yeah. So after h6 in this position, long castle was played, and then again we are creating another direct threat. Imagine black has to does something not so smart, like playing a6 for example. Then boom, bishop f6. And after bishop f6, bishop h7, winning the queen and the game. Yep. So let's go back a little bit. That's why after long castle, Akobian decided to go for queen a5, removing the queen for this from this dangerous file, and then also attacking the a2 pawn. Replying to this, in order to defend the a2 pawn, white played king b1, really natural move. defending the a2 pawn, putting the king in a safer square. And now there's the first move that I really didn't like from Akobian. He went for rook d8 here. And actually, when I see my black king here, I'm really scared, yeah? So I don't see any pieces, just one knight and 3 pawns defending this guy. And f7 can be really weak, right? That's why maybe it's better just to keep the rook on f8. And the engine suggests here some move like b5. It's really interesting. You, of course, you want to create some counterplay on the queen side. This is what you have to do. And then you prepare to develop your bishop via b7. This is actually your worst piece. Oh, okay, it's true that there exists this beautiful move, queen e2 is as well really common move in these types of position when this diagonal is open. Actually, again, you are creating a direct threat. You want to take on f6 and you want to play queen e4 with a double attack to the rook on a8 and checkmate on h7. Let's say black does move something a bit stupid like b4, then bishop f6, and then queen e4 is just winning. Checkmate and a rook for free, yeah? And we love rook for free. So actually white is winning here in this position. So black should go here bishop b7, actually parrying this threat on queen a4, and then bishop b5 winning a pawn. But actually this position is really unclear. It's pretty double-edged. It's true that white has its pawn up, but the thing is you have a lot of counterplay. You have the b file, you have moves like bishop d5 or knight d5, rook fc8, and still the position is really unclear. So I think this could have been a more interesting try for Akobian. Instead, he went for rook d8, and now really natural move knight e5. Not only you want to take on f7, you also prepare for moves like g4 and starting pushing your pawns on the king side, yeah? So now bishop d7 was played. You have to develop actually this guy, and then there is an idea of going bishop e8 to defend the f7 pawn. And also you want to go bishop a4, maybe just forcing b3 and creating some weaknesses on the queen side on the black on the white's king. Then after bishop a4, b3, c3 will be weaker, and then after something like rook c8, knight d5, you have a lot of contemplate. That's why in a prophylactic way Wesley So decided to go for queen e2, yeah? Actually now bishop a4 is not so strong. You can play rook d1 or rook d2. So instead he went for bishop c6. And now I know that I told you guys so many times, not you but in the Spanish community, I told you guys I love bishop pair, yeah? But now I think it's not a good idea to take this guy on c6. Why? Because actually this knight actually had a purpose attacking the white king, sacrificing on f7 in many lines. And now actually black has a lot of counterplay related with bringing a rook to b8. Yeah, there is some danger actually, c5, knight d5 in some positions. So I think it's not a good idea just to take on c6. And as I told you guys, we would love to start some pawn march in the king side, yeah, something like g4. That's why rook h e1, I think it's a really good move. Not only you are prepared now to go g4, but also you are creating again a direct threat. You want to take on f7 and then take on e6. Let's say that black hasn't does something not so smart, for example playing rook a c8, then boom, knight f7, king f7, and queen e6, followed by queen takes e7. Actually black has to resign here, yeah? So in order to avoid that, bishop d5 was played. Not only you defend the e6 pawn, but also you attack the a2 pawn. And now white has to do something about that. So Wesley So decided to go for c4, a really strong move. Just forcing this bishop back to c6 or to g2. Let's see what happens after bishop c6. Actually you have again this strong move, knight f7. Wow. And then you're gonna take on f7. The question is, can you take on d4? Are you lying to me, Pepe? Well, are you lying to me? This is just a piece up, yeah? But the problem is after queen a6 there are so many threats. You are threatening to take on e7, you are threatening to take on h6, some discovered checks with your knight, and actually this position seems to favor white a lot. That's why Akobian went for bishop takes e2, and now an intermediate move, bishop c3, removing the bishop from d4, attacking the queen, and preparing for go knight f7 if black hasn't do hasn't Black doesn't do anything about that. He went for queen b6. Actually, this move defends the e6 pawn. Now queen f7 is totally useless. Knight f7 is totally useless. Yeah. But now Wesley So changed plans. Now that you have forced this bishop to come to g2 and then the g file is open, you bring the rook to g1, and actually you are gonna see the power of these two guys and this rook and this knight. All the pieces are looking to black skin, and you're gonna see how Wesley So continued this game. It's a really an amazing continuation. Yeah, and you have to be very precise to calculate all this, but Wesley So did, and actually he went for knight f7. Wow, an amazing move, sacrificing a knight. Black has to accept the challenge, so he has to take on f7, otherwise e6 is hanging. Knight takes h6 is as well a possibility. The rook on d8 is hanging, so too many threats. Yeah, so you have to capture this knight. And now another amazing move, rook g7. Wow, sacrificing another piece. We are currently a rook and a piece down, yeah? So actually you have to be very precise calculating all these lines, because otherwise you're gonna end up losing, yeah? Of course, black has to take now, and now queen to e6. Yeah, really humble move, just taking a pawn, but there are so many threats here in this position. Now let's try to analyze a little bit. Of course, the most direct threat is just to go queen e7 and bishop f6. Yeah, there is another phrase, rook g1 followed by bishop f6. When the kings come to f8, rook g1 followed by bishop f6 and then rook g8, checkmate. And let's see what black can do about that. So Akobian decided to go for queen f2, that loses on the spot. The best move was rook e8. And now I want to show you a continuation that actually is not so simple. You may think that rook g1 wins on the spot, and after king f8, actually you may think that bishop f6 is just completely winning, but there is a really nice resource for black here. Bishop f6 and now bishop g2. Really a strong move. Just and actually black is escaping in this position. Now you want to exchange queens, and then this bishop avoids rook g8 checkmate. That's why here in this position, after rook e8, c5, it's a really interesting move. Now the idea is actually just to deviate this queen from b6. After queen c5, now actually you can play rook g1, bishop king f8, and bishop f6. Now actually you are winning the game, because bishop g2 is just totally useless, because you can just take on g2, right? The queen is not on b6, just trying to exchange the queens, yeah? And that's why c5 is a really strong move here. And after, if you don't take this pawn after queen c7, then the same idea. Rook g1, king f8, you can take on f6, but there is also a beautiful checkmate here, just to show you guys. Queen g8, sacrificing the queen as well. After knight g8, bishop g7, only move king f7, and then bishop c4. Wow, just giving checkmate with two bishops and a rook. Only move bishop d5, and bishop takes d5 with a checkmate, yeah? So that's why c5 is a really an amazing move. Instead, he took on f2. Actually, yeah, you control the g5 square, but actually you are gonna lose the bishop on e7. So queen e7 was played, king g8 from Akobian, and now the last move that actually kills Akobian, bishop h7. Bishop h7, and actually Akobian had to resign here. The reason, what is the reason? Just two moves possible in this position, knight takes h7, and queen to g7, checkmate. The other move is king to h8, right? And now you can just take on f6, forcing the queen to take on f6, queen f6, king h7, rook d8, queen d8, and as you guys can see, even all of us would be able to win this position against Magnus Carlsen, yeah? So yeah, this has been the game between Wesley So and Akobian, a really an attacking game with a lot of sacrifices, really interesting, many ideas that we could comment on the French. And yeah, this has been everything for today, and I hope you guys are having a lot of fun today, and yeah, are having an amazing day with your friends and family. Just see you in the next video. Remember, you can follow all the action, all the games in our page, in our site in Chess 24. Just be good and take care. Yeah, bye.